Why economic crises are inevitable. Imagine waking up one morning, turning on the news, and seeing the markets in free fall. Banks limiting withdrawals, prices rising faster than your paycheck, and the word recession echoing across every screen. For some people, this is a disaster. For others, it's a scenario they expected long ago. In this video, we'll uncover why global economic crises are inevitable, and more importantly, how you can prepare before it's too late. Most people believe economic crises are rare, unpredictable events, but the truth is far more uncomfortable. Crises are not failures of the system. They are built into the system itself. The United States has lived through the Great Depression, the 2008 financial collapse, and the 2020 pandemic shock. Each time, millions were caught off guard. Not because the warning signs weren't there, but because people believed it wouldn't happen to them. Today, the global economy is more connected than ever before. A financial shock in one part of the world can ripple across the planet in seconds. U.S. national debt, inflation pressure, geopolitical instability, and speculative market bubbles aren't isolated problems. They're links in the same chain. The real question is no longer if the next crisis will happen, but who will be ready when it does. If you live in the United States, pay a mortgage, rely on a paycheck, invest through a 401k, or keep your savings in a bank, this affects you directly. Even if you don't follow the markets, even if you don't invest at all. Because economic crises always hit everyday Americans first, through rising prices, job uncertainty, and a declining standard of living. But here's the good news. History shows that people who understand how crises work and prepare ahead of time don't just survive. They come out stronger. A crisis is a moment when the rules of the game temporarily change. And when you understand those rules, you gain an advantage most people never see. In this video, without fear-mongering and without complicated jargon, we'll break down why global economic crises repeat again and again, the critical mistakes most people make, and the practical steps an average American can take to protect their money, their family, and their future. This isn't about panic, it's about control. Because in an unstable economic world, preparation is the only real advantage. And next, we'll start with the most important question of all. Why crises are not accidents, but patterns. Why economic crises keep repeating. To understand how to prepare for an economic crisis, we first need to understand one simple truth. Crises don't come out of nowhere. They follow patterns, over and over again. When you zoom out and look at history, you realize that every major financial collapse was preceded by the same warning signs, just wrapped in different headlines. Every crisis begins with optimism. The economy is growing, jobs are plentiful, credit is cheap, people feel confident, businesses expand, investors chase higher returns. In the United States, this phase often feels like progress, rising home prices, booming stock markets, easy access to loans. But this growth is rarely balanced. It's fueled by debt. When money is easy to borrow, people borrow more than they should. Consumers swipe credit cards. Corporations take on cheap debt. Governments spend without restraint. Over time, the economy becomes dependent on constant growth, like an engine that can't slow down without overheating. This is where risk quietly builds, hidden behind confidence. This is the most dangerous phase, because everything looks fine. Markets reach record highs. Experts appear on TV saying, "This time is different." In 2007, Americans were told housing prices would never fall nationwide. In 2020, many believed the system was stronger than ever. History shows us that these moments of peak confidence often come right before the fall. A crisis usually starts with a trigger, not the cause, but the spark. It could be rising interest rates, a banking failure, geopolitical conflict, or a sudden loss of trust. The system, already overloaded with debt and risk, can't absorb the shock. And once confidence breaks, everything moves fast. Markets drop, credit freezes, fear spreads. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People aren't surprised because they didn't know. They're surprised because they didn't want to believe it. Preparing for a crisis feels unnecessary when times are good. That's why most Americans react instead of prepare. Selling assets at the worst moment, panicking and locking in losses. Because the US dollar sits at the center of the global financial system, American crises don't stay in America. What happens here affects the world, and what happens in the world eventually comes back here. This makes preparation even more important for US households, workers, and investors. Now that you understand why crises repeat, the next step is critical. Because knowing why something happens is only useful if you know what to do about it. In the next part, we'll talk about the biggest mistakes people make before and during economic downturns and how to avoid them. The biggest mistakes people make during crises. When an economic crisis hits, most people don't lose money because they made bad decisions. They lose money because they made emotional ones. Fear, panic, and herd behavior take control. And the moment emotions replace logic, the damage begins. Mistake number 1. Panic selling. The first and most common mistake is panic selling. When markets drop sharply, people rush to sell stocks, retirement funds, and other assets at the worst possible moment. History shows this clearly. Those who sell in fear often lock in losses, while those who stay calm recover when markets eventually rebound. Mistake number 2. Blind trust in the system. Another mistake is assuming the system will always protect you. Many Americans believe their bank, employer, or government program will automatically shield them in a crisis. While institutions play an important role, relying on them without personal preparation can leave you exposed when rules change quickly. Mistake number 3. Keeping all money in one place. Putting all your money in one place feels simple. But during a crisis, simplicity can become risk. Whether it's one bank, one investment, or one source of income, lack of diversification makes people vulnerable when disruptions happen fast and unexpectedly. Mistake number 4. Ignoring cash flow. During economic downturns, income becomes more important than asset value. Many people focus only on investments and forget about cash flow. Losing a job or facing reduced hours without a financial buffer is one of the fastest ways stress turns into crisis at a personal level. Mistake number 5. Waiting too long to act. Perhaps the most dangerous mistake is waiting. People delay preparation because the crisis doesn't feel real, until it is. By the time headlines turn negative, opportunities to prepare are already shrinking. Preparation works best before fear takes over the crowd. Crowd psychology. Markets don't crash because of numbers alone. They crash because of people. When confidence breaks, fear spreads faster than facts. The crowd reacts emotionally, not rationally. And historically, the crowd almost always gets it wrong at the worst possible moment. Understanding these mistakes already puts you ahead of most people. Because the goal isn't to predict the exact moment of the next crisis, it's to avoid the behaviors that turn downturns into disasters. In the next part, we'll shift from mistakes to practical preparation. Clear, realistic steps anyone in the U.S. can take. How to prepare before a crisis hits. Preparation doesn't mean predicting the future. It means building resilience. You don't need to know exactly when the next crisis will arrive. You need to be in a position where it doesn't break you when it does. And for most Americans, preparation starts with clarity, not complexity. Step 1. Build an emergency buffer. One of the strongest defenses against economic shocks is simple liquidity. Having an emergency fund that can cover several months of essential expenses gives you time, and time equals options. It allows you to avoid panic decisions, forced sales, and high-interest debt during unstable periods. Step 2. Understand your expenses. Most people don't actually know where their money goes. During a crisis, this lack of awareness becomes dangerous. Knowing your fixed and flexible expenses allows you to cut costs quickly without chaos. Control starts with visibility. Step 3. Reduce high-risk debt. Not all debt is equal. High-interest consumer debt becomes especially dangerous when income is uncertain. Reducing exposure before a downturn increases flexibility and lowers stress when conditions tighten. It's not about fear, it's about margin of safety. Step 4. Diversify income sources. Relying on a single paycheck creates fragility. Economic downturns often disrupt entire industries at once. Whether it's skill development, side income, or flexible work options, diversification of income increases stability when traditional employment becomes uncertain. Step 5. Think long-term, not headlines. During crises, headlines are designed to grab attention, not provide clarity. Constantly reacting to news increases stress and leads to poor decisions. Preparation means focusing on long-term fundamentals rather than short-term noise. Mental preparation matters. Financial preparation is only half the equation. Mental resilience matters just as much. People who stay calm during downturns consistently make better decisions. Understanding that volatility is normal and temporary prevents fear from taking control. Preparation isn't about becoming rich during a crisis. It's about avoiding unnecessary damage and positioning yourself for recovery. And now, in the final part, we'll talk about how people who are prepared often find opportunity where others see only fear. Opportunity after the storm. Reframing the crisis. Every economic crisis feels like an ending, but history shows it's often a beginning. While fear dominates headlines, the real shift happens quietly. Assets are repriced, bad habits are exposed, inefficient systems break down. And for those who are prepared, this moment creates space for smarter decisions and long-term growth. Why opportunity exists? Opportunity exists during crises for one simple reason. Most people are forced to react, not think. When fear drives the crowd, patience becomes rare and valuable. Historically, some of the strongest companies, careers, and financial recoveries began during periods of economic stress. The power of liquidity and patience. Those who prepared ahead of time have something most people don't during a crisis. Options. Liquidity allows flexibility. Patience allows clarity. Instead of selling under pressure, prepared individuals can wait, observe, and act when conditions stabilize, not when emotions peak. Long-term thinking wins. Crises punish short-term thinking and reward long-term discipline. Markets recover. Economies rebuild. Innovation accelerates. The people who benefit most aren't those chasing quick wins, but those who understand that downturns are temporary while smart preparation has lasting impact. Personal growth. During downturns, economic downturns don't just reshape markets, they reshape people. Skills improve, priorities shift, financial awareness grows. Many Americans look back after a crisis and realize it forced them to become more disciplined, resilient, and intentional than ever before. The real advantage. The real advantage isn't secret information or perfect timing. It's understanding that cycles are normal and preparation is a choice. While most people hope the system will protect them, prepared individuals take responsibility for their own stability. Global economic crises will happen again. That's not pessimism, it's realism. But the difference between panic and confidence comes down to preparation. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to be ready for it. If this video helped you understand how economic crises really work and how to prepare for them, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more clear, practical insights. Like this video to help others see it. And leave a comment below. What concerns you most about the next economic crisis? Your perspective matters, and this conversation is just getting started.